Bonjour and welcome to Quebec, Canada for the third round of the 2023 VCO Formula SimRacing World Championship. My name is Edward Hunter, and here are all of the driver changes going into the Canadian Grand Prix. In Spain, Tom Oldenmenger filled in for Michi Hoyer at Burst Simplexity. Now the Dutchman subs in for his teammate Damien Scovron at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Also absent is Visceral eSports' Martin Maguli, who is replaced by pro driver Christian Pascal. Liam Duval took his first pole position in the World Championship as RHG eSports locked out the front row, but Championship leader Jerne Simoncic was immediately on the attack, trying to go round the outside of Adam Maguire, resuming their duel for the lead from the previous race in Spain. The pair then made contact going into turn 3, forcing Simoncic's burst car to take a detour across the grass. This allowed the Super Venturi of Jan Grankvist to slip through into third, having already dispensed of Dennis Jordan's Ferrari. Impatient to get back through, Simoncic immediately tried to retake the position into turn 8, but instead made contact with the Filipino Finn, who held on to the position. Michi Hoyer was held up by Jordan at the turn 10 hairpin, enabling the second Ferrari of Alex Siebel to go around the outside of the burst car. Reigning champion Colin Sporkstay ended prematurely at turn 1 when the Dutchman locked his rear tyres, narrowly avoiding Jake Danahan and crashing heavily. His teammate Petar Briliak was on the move in the second Alpine, clearing Janos Braksok for 12th, but then disaster followed as Giordano Valeriano got caught out by the closing speed and tagged the Arnold Brabham into the wall of champions, turning it into a wall of death, collecting a total of 10 victims in a spectacular melee. Up front, Grankvist was starting to struggle with damage sustained on the opening lap and found Simoncic and Jordan breezing past him on the back straight, unleashing the pair to chase after the RHGs of Duval and Maguire. By lap 8, Briliak had found a new victim in the form of Janik Box TX3, and the 2015 champion pulled off a clean and clinical pass by braking late on the inside into turn 1. Davin Mrokcek had caught up to Darius Andre after a tricky qualifying and used DRS to pass the Visceral driver. On lap 14, Danahan was able to clear the race clutch of Tom Latiou right as the Frenchman bailed for the pit lane. On lap 17, Simoncic used the DRS to pull in front of Maguire right as the Irishman went to dive into the pits, costing him valuable time. Duval and Simoncic responded with stops of their own on the following tour. Maguire was pushing to take the lead and got incredibly close as Duval emerged side by side with him. The two RHGs banged wheels in a scary moment for both Maguire and team boss Stefan Koch. Jordan stayed out a lap later than the other leaders, hoping to overcut Simoncic. He was slotting behind in 4th, with all of them doing a second stint on hard tyres. Having pit early to get off of the mediums, Latiou now found Hoyer shuffling him down the pack. Meanwhile, Grankvist had repaired his damage in the pits and emerged behind Valeriano and Andre, who was squabbling over 13th. Once the valet was through, Grankvist followed suit, passing Andre in his fixed-up Super Venturi. Simoncic started getting aggressive on lap 29, trying to intimidate Maguire around the outside into turn 1, but was promptly seen off. A second attempt using DRS around the outside at the final chicane was met by a squeeze from the Irishman as Simoncic had to cut the chicane, but was delayed in giving the place back due to an attack from Jordan into turn 1. With the coast clear, the triple world champion made amends and slotted back into third. 5 laps later, and Simoncic finally made a pass stick on Maguire before then doing the same to Duval to snatch the lead a lap later as Jordan also got himself onto the podium as Maguire was once again the first to pit for fresh hards. Jordan looked to be about to complete a move of his own on Duval, only for the Dutchman to follow Simoncic into the pits. Maguire found the pair emerging ahead of him, the undercut not working as intended. Ever the opportunist, Duval saw an opening at the hairpin and went for it, forcing his way back past Simoncic. The pair then went side by side as Duval used the DRS to keep the Slovenian at bay. All this squabbling handed a golden opportunity to Jordan, who dove for the pit lane. The Ferrari emerged from the pits in front and in the net lead of the race. Duval was immediately on the attack with the DRS and found just enough space to retake the lead from Jordan around the outside at the final chicane. On lap 46, Jordan reasserted the lead as Maguire fell into the clutches of Hoyer and tried to block the middle of the road in a vain attempt to keep the German at bay. 3 laps later, and Simoncic finally cleared Duval for good, allowing him to set about hunting down the Scarlet Ferrari of Jordan for victory. Maguire pit on lap 53 for medium tyres. Duval then pit a lap later and emerged comfortably ahead of his teammate, but the pair's lack of straight line speed meant that they lost touch with the leaders. Then there was drama as Hoyer locked the rears into the hairpin. Siebel could not avoid his countryman in time and his front wing became collateral damage as Denahan avoided the carnage and immediately pit with Siebel close in tow. Simoncic then pulled the trigger and pit for mediums, meaning Jordan had to respond. A blistering outlap allowed Simoncic to briefly steal the lead before Jordan then used the DRS to almost immediately retake it. Valeriano and Andre continued to bicker with 8 laps remaining as the Italian went off track and then rejoined into the path of the visceral car, enabling a grateful Costas Van Vukas to slip through unnoticed. Andre then counterattacked at the hairpin but locked the rears as the regen got the better of him, allowing the valet back past. It wasn't long before the leaders were upon them, and Andre decided to get out of the way by spinning. Valeriano quickly followed suit by spinning at the hairpin right in front of Simoncic, who was forced to take evasive action. The two leaders then began to pull away as the RIGs dropped off the pace. With 2 laps to go, Hoyer tried to move on the outside, which Maguire defended from aggressively, the two making contact as Hoyer spun at the final chicane. Now it was up to Denahan to get past his countryman on the final lap as Mrokcek breathed down his neck in the burst car. The two briefly made contact at the hairpin under braking, but up front Jordan crossed the line ahead of Simoncic to take Ferrari's first victory in FSR. But even as Ferrari celebrated, the action wasn't over yet as Maguire and Denahan made contact, forcing in X27 to cut the chicane as Maguire flew off the curb and into the wall, losing 2 positions with a costly, dramatic error. Fittingly, it was Ferrari number 27 that took Jordan to his 4th career victory at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve from a charging Simoncic. Duval held on to his 2nd third place in a row from Denahan, Mrokcek, a disappointed Maguire and a furious Michi Hoyer. Briliac climbed to 8th, beating Siebel and Bock, who rounded out the top 10. Latiou was 11th, just ahead of the luckless Grankvist. Williams took his best finish of the season in 13th, with the finishers being rounded out by Hakimi, Van Vukas, Valeriano, Oldenmenger, Panzar, Lalu, and Musadis. Andre spun out late in the race, but lap 2 will go down as one of the most brutal in FSR history, with it claiming Van den Eet, Pascal, the 2 ground effects of Callas and Zux, Picciuto, Schluter, Braxock, and even world champion Spork. With 3 rounds in the books, Simoncic's lead has grown to 21 points over Denahan. Jordan's win vaults him up to 3rd, with Duval now just a point behind teammate Maguire. The top 10 is rounded up by Mrokcek, Briliac, Siebel, Spork, and Grankvist. Burst's lead in the teams table has grown to 16 points over RHG, but Ferrari now moves up to 3rd after a tough day for Alpine. The battle for 6th has tightened up with just 4 points separating TX3, Super Venturi, Burst Simplexity, and Arnage Brabham. For the first time since 2020, we've had 3 different winners in the first 3 races. Will we get a 4th at the next round in Silverstone? Or can one of our trio double up and take win number 2? We'll find out at the British Grand Prix on the 16th of July, but from me, Edward Hunter, and from the Ile Notre Dame, it's goodbye.